2008 through 2016 Hyundai Genesis Coupe transmission fluid and filter change. I'm Brian Esser from How To Automotive. I'm going to walk you step by step through the process of changing out the fluid and filter. First thing you're going to need to do is get your vehicle up off the ground. Use floor jacks and jack stands if you're doing this at home. You need to get it high enough where you can get under here. And as you can see, the reason why we're changing this is it came in contact with a rock and has punctured the pan and leaked out all the fluid. But yours, you're going to get started by draining it by removing the back plug here. It's an 8mm Allen's plug. So we're going to remove this 8mm plug. On your car, when you remove this plug, a lot of fluid is going to be running out, so you're going to have a bucket ready to catch it. While the fluid is draining, I thought I'd share a few of the parts. I will link these up in the description of the video. So this is a pan and the transmission filter all built into one complete unit here. It comes with the gaskets and everything you need to install it. This is a genuine Hyundai part. I will link it up in the description of the video. That way, if you need to pick it up, you can find it there. So I'm going to be using a cordless impact gun here to remove these fasteners. So we're going to go around the perimeter of the pan here, and what I did was I loosened up one of the corners and then I removed the rest of the bolts. So I go around, and then when I get to the next corner, I only loosen the bolt up, I don't take it out, and then so I just work my way around the pan, removing the fasteners. And the reason why I don't remove all the fasteners, I leave the corner ones in, is that way when I'm ready to drop the pan down, it doesn't just fall on me and splash transmission fluid everywhere, which I've had that happen a few times. So with the corner bolts in there, I pulled the pan down a little bit, and I'm confident that the pan is not going to drop down or flop down on me. So I went ahead and removed the rest of them. Now I'm going to use a flat blade screwdriver and put it in the corner here. And at the front, it's held on with a seal, so I had to lightly pry it to pop it out. And as you can see, the pan came down quite fast. I almost dropped it. So once we got the pan down, we can go ahead and clean up the mating surface on the transmission here. So I'm using a clean rag. You can use a rag with some parts cleaner on the rag, and go ahead and wipe down the mating surface. So the new transmission has the filter and the gasket built into the pan itself here. This is the filter portion of it. And so we're going to go ahead and give this one last wipe down, and now we're going to install the pan. So you're just going to line up the little round port with the port on the pan here, and then you push it up until it seats in there, and then you can go ahead and start the bolts here. I recommend starting most of these by hand. Once you get a few of these bolts started by hand, then you can switch over to like a power tool. I like to use my impact driver here to run these bolts up and these fasteners up until they just touch. I'm not driving this down and torquing it down with the impact driver. I'm just running them in until the pan is snug against the bottom of the transmission. So this one is 3/8 drive. It's also the 12 volt. I will also link it up in the description of the video. That way, if you're interested in checking it out, you can find the link there. So I tried looking up the torque specs, but I could not find the proper torque specs for this. So I'm going to tighten these down by hand. So I'm starting on the side here, and I'm going across, and I'm just tightening them up by feel until they're snug and about a quarter turn more. And then I work back and forth in a crisscross pattern. So if you notice, I'm doing the inside, outside, and I'll do that until all the fasteners on the outside are secure, and then I'll move to the end caps of the pans. So then I'll do the front and back. I'm also using a 1/4-inch ratchet with a little extension on it. It is a long 1/4-inch ratchet with a flex head, and so I'm not putting a huge amount of torque on it. If I had to guess, I would say probably around 10-12 foot-pounds of torque, not very much. So this transmission is filled from below. We need to remove the fill plug, which is the one on the far right side on the passenger side of the pan. So we need to remove that 8mm plug, and what we're going to do is we're going to fill this transmission until it overflows this little plastic tube here. So it's going to fill up, and once it overflows this tube, that's where it's going to be at the proper level. But we need to do this in 2 steps. So the first step is to pull the plug out, and we're going to fill it up with full synthetic ATF 6 transmission fluid here. I will link this up in the description of the video. We're also going to use a little adapter here that screws into the pan. So this will screw into the pan, and you hook your pump up to it, and then you pump the fluid up through into the bottom of the transmission pan here. So this will go inside the pan like this. I'll link this tool up in the description of the video also. And then you can either use a hand pump or one of these type of fancy pumps here where you fill it up with the fluid and then you pump the air into it, and then it automatically pumps the fluid into the transmission floor. This is a really nice one. but the little small handheld ones you can get at O'Reilly's or Kragen or whatever, they work really well too. So I've filled this container up with about 7 liters of transmission fluid. So this transmission was hit by a rock and broke the pan, and all the fluid was pumped out of it. So yours may not take quite as much. So I'm gonna stick the rod into the bottom of the transmission and start pumping the fluid into the transmission. So what we're going to do in the first step is pump this fluid until it starts overflowing out of that tube. And we're doing this with the engine off. Once the fluid is running out of the tube, you want to pump a little bit, check, pump a little bit and check until the fluid is running out of the tube. Then we're going to put the plug back in and just snug it up, and then we're going to go lower the vehicle down and start the vehicle up. And with the vehicle running, then we'll pump the rest of the fluid into the transmission. We don't want to start the vehicle with a dry transmission. In this case, it's already happened to be dry and it's probably done damage, but we won't know until we do this repair. So go ahead and put the drain plug back in, and now we're going to start the vehicle up. And with the engine running for about 5 or 10 minutes, the transmission temperature is going to rise, and we need to measure that or monitor that with our scan tool. So we want this the temperature to be between 120 and 140 degrees. And once we got it in that range where it's between 120 and 140 degrees, which you'll find on the scan tool, we'll check the transmission fluid level, and the engine's going to be running when we do this. We're also going to shift the transmission through the gears. So you're going to go in each gear and hold it for about 2 seconds in each gear. And once you shift it through all the gears, after about 2 seconds within each gear, then we'll go back underneath the vehicle and we're going to double check the transmission fluid and top it off for the final time. So with the engine running, we're going to go back under here and remove the fill plug. And once you get the fill plug removed, if there's not fluid draining out, you need to add more until the fluid is overflowing out of that tube and draining out. If the fluid is draining out, then you can go ahead and put the cap back on, or the plug back on, and snug it up. And like I said, you're going to do that with the engine running. So I will link up all the parts and tools that I use in this video in the description. I'm Brian Esser from How To Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching the videos, encourage you to subscribe, invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this. Thank you again for watching.